Welcome back to Max's Muscle TV. We're back in the kitchen with the world's sportiest chef, Peter Wright.
Well, I don't know about the sportiest chef, but I've cooked at a couple of Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games, and I know a bit about cooking for sportsmen.
What are we going to do today?
Well, today we're going to go through a few of the sports needs, and it's more about timing, when they eat and what should they eat at those times.
Now, when we talk about different sports, there's sports that are high impact, there's sports that require a lot of recovery, there's sports that require body fat levels to be low, and then there's sports that don't matter. For example, if people play Australian rules footy or soccer, their body fat gets measured, they've got to be coming under the thing, so they can't junk out after a game. But then you've got like rugby players, well, they want to get as big as they can. So we're going to give you a few options as we go, but generally there's some basic rules to follow.
Tony, what we're going to cover today is the actual day that we're going to compete, so the day of our event.
We'd probably say on game day that your ratio of carbohydrates to protein increases in the carbohydrate stakes. You don't want to be digesting protein when you're out in the field, certainly not too much of it. So we want fairly easy to digest proteins, but lots of carbos.
Lots of carbos. So we start off about 3 hours before our event, just a rice with peas and corn and a bit of grilled chicken. And I've just put a bit of ketchup mayonnaise over there just for a bit of flavour. We can also have a bit of fruit as well. And then we'll wash that down with a protein shake.
Now, we're talking about super whey, and the reason that's good, Pete, is because there's 3 different types of protein in it, from hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, and whey protein concentrate. And what that does, folks, is give you a protein from every angle. So you've got a short-acting one, a long-acting one, and one in the middle, a medium-acting one. So you're getting immediate protein, you're getting sustained protein, you're getting protein that'll be helping to recover while you're playing. So that's a perfect way to start 3 or so hours before the game. As you said, if you want a little bit more fruit, as the game gets closer, depending on your metabolism, you can keep nibbling away at some of those very easily digested foods.
What are you trying to give your body 3 hours before? Why is it 3 hours, and what actually are you trying to achieve out of it?
What you're trying to do is load your body up with glycogen and carbohydrates, so you've got energy to participate in your sport. You're trying to digest any proteins that you may have with that meal long before the game starts, so that's why we go 3 hours, not an hour and a half or 2 hours. But carbohydrates are definitely the way to go on game day. Pasta, potato, rice, any of those sort of carbs are just fine on game day.
So regardless what sport I'm playing, the 3 hour rule's about where we want to be.
Correct, correct. And as I said, if you're playing a sport that requires a lot of running, you certainly don't want to have too much protein in your belly in the form of red meat or chicken, even fish, that sort of thing. That's why the super whey is great on game day, because you can cut back on the protein that you eat, suck that down in the protein shake, and it's immediately digested and available for your body. Now, food science has come a long way, and athletes are getting more and more educated, particularly within the clubs and the elite sporting clubs where there's a lot of money involved. But for those playing, for example, suburban footy, they're having toasted sandwiches, maybe a pie, and that sort of thing before a game, and that's not ideal because it'll repeat on you. It'll be all the blood will be in your stomach trying to digest those mongrel foods that you've eaten instead of in your legs trying to help you to run fast. So you've got to get it right. You've got to eat really clean on game day, particularly before the event. Now that changes as the day goes on, and we'll talk about that, but it's all about making good choices and feeling good when you run out in the field. And this is about optimum performance. We want to set you up for success. Therefore, put the good fuel in your body. You don't race a car with the worst type of fuel, you put all the top fuel in, and they're the cars that go the fastest. It's a little bit the same with sport. Clean food. And one more thing, some people get nervous on game day and have a lot of trouble eating, a lot of trouble digesting food, and that's where the super whey, once again, is great. If you're having trouble with nerves or just not being able to eat before a game, just make up a couple of protein shakes and sip on them for those last few hours before the game, and you'll find you feel real good and you recover much better.
Speaking about important times, one of the most important times is about an hour before the game.
Correct, Pete, and that's where the supplementation comes into it. What we recommend on Muscle TV is to get some sort of creatine, like a Create Carnage, into your body about an hour before the event. That'll give all the cells the availability of the creatine that they want.
Tony, I've heard you talk about creatine in the gym, but how's that going to benefit someone playing a sport?
What it helps with is those short, sharp bursts of energy that you might need in the third quarter, in the last quarter. A sport like footy, where you've got to run, stop, and it goes in short bursts. Even mixed martial arts and fighting, where you might be very defensive for half a round, all of a sudden you've got to burst out with 15, 20 seconds of fury. That's where creatine comes in place. And to have that available in your cells means you can go that little bit longer in that sustained energy phase. And as the game gets closer, perhaps one of these shots, a shock shot right before the game. When I say right before, about 15, 20 minutes before, so it's kicking into your body while you're doing your warm-ups. These are readily available, great Max's product. And they've got stimulants that help you with your mental focus, give you energy, sustain energy throughout the game, and it'll certainly help your performance. You know, a lot of the top sporting teams in Melbourne are buying these by the box full to have before their games.
OK, Tony, so we've spoken about before the game And what about after the game?
Look, this is probably the most important thing of all. The top-level teams that you and I have both worked with nowadays have protein shakes waiting for the players when they come off the ground. They're straight into them. So something like the Super Whey, again, would be perfect because you've got your protein, your hydrolyzed whey protein, which is immediately available. You've got that window of opportunity we talk about, so before it shuts, you've got to get that protein drink in. What a lot of the top footballers and top rugby players do is when they're doing their stretching and their cool down after a game, they're actually sipping on the protein the whole time. Don't be scared to have 2 shakes. If you've had a high impact game and you've been hit and battered around and you feel really, really buggered, that might be the best way to go, is to have a couple of protein shakes. Certainly don't be scared, and then you start eating from there. Folks, protein is the building blocks of life. That's what helps you with your recovery, with your muscle gain. And in a sport like footy, rugby, soccer, even mixed martial arts, the ones we talk about, you wear down as the season progresses. So what this does is ensures your body's recovering straight after a game, and it is so important. It's probably the most important part of your whole week, is when you come off the pitch or come off the field, is to get that protein into your body while they've got a window of opportunity that's open. Get that in, it's easily absorbed. In fact, your body's screaming out for it. That's why I said, in this case, you can maybe even have 2 protein shakes because your body sucks it up so quick. And what that does is help you to recover and help you to be ready for the training on the Monday morning or the next session. If you're one of those people that finds it hard to recover and you're sore for days after a game, keep on your protein shakes. You might find that you recover better than ever. And the beauty of that is you're ready to train to get better for the next week. Where there's collisions involved, that takes a lot out of you, and it really does require a lot of protein, amino acids to help you to build back up to be ready to do it all again.
So moving on, Tony, after we've had our shake and we've had a little bit of a rest, where do we go to there?
What we recommend is to have something available. Look, bananas are great. We've got here some rice cakes with peanut butter and cottage cheese. That's got everything. It's got your fats, your carbohydrates, your proteins. Now, after a game, fats are quite important. At a local level, something like rice cakes, something you can nibble on and have in your bag. Yep. Very, very handy. A couple of bananas.
But that's a good point, Tony. Most of those things you can take with you in your bag, some peanut butter, some cottage cheese, some of those nice rice cakes, a few bananas or apples.
Years ago, they used to just have lollies. You know, you'd come out after a game and they'd hang around bags of snakes and bags of jelly beans and all that sort of thing. And that's a real instant gratification sort of thing. So it pops your sugar levels up, your insulin levels up, all that sort of thing. Then you're hungry and you haven't recovered and hasn't really done anything for you apart from put a bit of glycogen and glucose into your body, which is not what we're after. We're after recovery. And this is the way to go, to have some meals, as you said, are readily available. Bananas are great, rice cakes are great, and just work your way from there. You know, a protein bar, a Max's protein bar or a cookie, that's another one you could have to have after a game. The cookies are fantastic.
Now I know where I went wrong in all those years when I was a young fella. And we've got another meal here, a couple of hours after the game, and we've made a nice risotto there, just with some vegetables, a little bit of cheese. And on top of that, you can add whatever you like, steak or fish or chicken, but another protein. And you can make that ahead of time and take it with you as well.
Fantastic. We talked about which sort of meat to have. I'd probably go with red meat after a game. Once again, it's got that little bit more fat, a little bit longer digesting, so it's going to be dripping into your body all night, particularly as the season wears on and the impact wears on, your weight starts to come off. These are some of the tricks that can help you to sustain all the muscle you put on in the pre-season. We're going to leave it at that, Pete. That's been a great segment, and we'll see you after the break.
Let's go, give up the